escuchar ni saber más de ti. Cómo sufrí, pero yo sé que el amor es así. Todas las veces que me encuentro aquí, ya no quiero más. Y tú te vas, y no me queda otra más. Me quedo todas mis lágrimas que he podido llorar. Honestamente cuando no estás, me acostumbro a mi soledad. Es posible que me mejores cuando tú te vas. Que cae en mi piel. Me siento tan cerca de ti, pero me siento tan lejos, muy lejos también. Después del dolor, después de todo, todo más fue mejor. No te quiero, mi amor, ya se marchitó. Y tú te vas, y ya no queda otra más. Me caen todas mis lágrimas que he podido llorar. Honestamente cuando no estás, me acostumbro a mi soledad. Es posible que me mejores cuando tú te vas. Y tú te vas, y no me queda otra más. Me caen todas mis lágrimas que he podido llorar. Honestamente cuando no estás, me acostumbro a mi
Yo, okay. Wow, what a fucking nightmare this fucking camera's giving me. What a fucking nightmare. Alright, guys, here I am. Um, wow, what an exciting day. I'm gonna be honest, I'm really glad and really happy about the reception the video got. And I'm super content with how it's performed. And if it doesn't go super viral, I'm fine with that. I accomplished what I set about to do. It was extremely last minute, and I didn't even know if I was going to the rally, a few days before. We went there, got it done, and I'm happy with the results. Now, there is one thing that I talked about before, and I forewarned you about it, and it's the audio. And that's probably the one flaw the video has is the audio. First of all, you guys have to realize the fact that we were able to put that video together was a miracle because of how, the audio problem was pretty significant. But I didn't think it detracted from the substance. Thankfully, I mean, there was more, I'm trying to say there was more good stuff that was lost because of the audio. A lot, I don't want to, I'm going to be doing this again, obviously. Me and Jackson are probably going to do this across the country. So you don't have to worry about that. And we're going to make sure the audio is good. But yeah, there was a lot of other good stuff too. But I think I think the video was good. I intended it originally for it to be 15 minutes. We had extra stuff that we could use, right? So there was that, and then yeah, sometimes it did cut out. But the parts where it cut out, we made sure those were parts where it was like quick. You could clearly read my lips, so it matches the subtitles, and we salvaged it. The option was after we filmed, do we give up on this and just not do anything? Or do we salvage it and make the best of what we have? We made the best of it. And the reason the audio fucked up, it wasn't because I got a cheap mic. I got a really expensive mic. I paid $300 for that microphone, if you can believe it. I paid premium dollar for that microphone. It's just that we used it incorrectly. Thank you, W11. Appreciate you.
Great that Hayes flexed biceps.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I didn't know about the 2-button thing. Everyone keeps talking about it. And I just think it's just stupid, right? The 2-button thing, I've never worn a 2-button suit. Every suit that I've ever worn in my life had more than 2 buttons. So I didn't know anything about that 2-button rule. And by the way, the last time I wore a suit is a long time ago. I don't wear suits often, as you can tell. I'm not a suit-wearing type of guy. But I actually looked it up, and it turns out that this is kind of funny. The 2-button rule comes from King Henry the Fourth. I forgot it. King Henry the Fourth, I think, in England. And it's because his belly was so fat, he unbuttoned the bottom button. And out of respect, the English lords and Parliament, I think, followed suit out of respect for him because he had a fat belly. Well, I don't have a fat belly, so I don't need to do with that King George Anglo bullshit. I'm a fucking American, and I'll wear my goddamn suits how I want to. Okay? So that I looked into the history of it, and that's what I found. So actually, buttoning that second button was an act of defiance against the fucking British Crown, the goddamn Anglo tyranny that still looms over our country. So you can interpret it that way. And also, yeah, I'm really happy with the result because judging from what I've seen, the blazer is the only criticism. it's the only pushback I have, which is an indication to me that this is like a stunning success. They have nothing else. It's just that blazer and that's it. And then they have nothing else to cope about. That's a stunning success, and it's beautiful, right? And also, I really liked the video. I watched it a few times from start to finish. I'm really satisfied with how it turned out. I'm happy with the performance it's received already. I have to say, this is my best performing video that wasn't a stream. I think my Adam Something debate and I think that one. Actually, this is my best performing video probably this entire year. It's doing like double what my top video got as of the 10 hours. So it's been performing, I don't want to jinx it, but it's been doing like extremely well. This video has been doing very, very well. Extremely well. And it seems like people are really interested in it. Can't wait to watch it this weekend. Daniel, really? I mean, it's only 20 minutes. You're waiting till the weekend to watch it? Okay, I mean, it's up to you. Far be it from me to dictate when you watch that video, but I mean, it just kind of seems okay. I mean, I guess you can wait till the weekend. What is it, Tuesday right now? Anyway, yeah, the video was, I think it turned out very well. I'm really satisfied with what happened. I'm really satisfied with how it turned out. And I want to talk about a few other things too. And I want to specifically talk about the editing style that I did. And I followed Q. So basically, I was screen sharing. Well, the editor was screen sharing with me, and we were going through it. And what we decided is we want to organize it by topic. Thank you so much, Yongyu.
Everyone donate $1 so Hayes can get a navy suit tailored and buy a matching fire truck red tie.
Well, you don't have to worry about that. I appreciate that, Xiongyu. Thank you so much, ZK. I do have a suit. I do have a bigger... You know what? I'll just show it to you right now. So I do have a bigger suit that I'll show you. So I'll So this one is a little, I guess, well fitted. This one fits a little well. Sorry, fits better. Let me check the size on this one. So this one is a what is this? This is a 40. It's a 40. That's why. So this is a 40. I'm like a 44 actually. I didn't even know what my measurements were. This one's a 38 regular. This is the one I wore to the rally. This is the infamous blazer. So I'll wear it right now. You guys can see it. There it is. Now, the reason I wore this one instead was because, I don't know, I liked how, like, you see from the side, it looks very regal, right? If I button it, look at the side, it looks very regal, right? I like how it's just got that Al Ghul type of thing to it, right? So I like that one. But apparently you're not supposed to bottom the bottom button. They're kind of both too small. Because at the end of the day, I do look like this. I'm not like these womanly leftists who can... Like, leftists can slip into these suits, no problem. They can slip in. I'm like a 44 regular. That's a 38, that's a 40. So if you can slip comfortably into those suits, apparently that makes you a woman. Apparently that makes you a woman. And also, apparently this is also a woman's blazer. So this is a woman's blazer. And here's some proof it's a woman's blazer. Ready? So the first proof it's a woman's blazer is that the buttons are on the right side. As you can see, the buttons are on the right side. And everyone knows, who's an expert, that women's blazers have the buttons on the right side. And then the other proof... Actually, I'm going to go on a rant about this shit. Because a lot of people have been nitpicking me about it. The other proof... This is a 38 regular. See this? 38 regular. Which is not a woman's size. Like, they're not even... Women's sizes are not even measured. Like, women's sizes are not measured 38 regular or whatever. They're measured totally differently. And then finally, what's the smoking gun? And I have my fucking, everyone kept bitching about the tag. Where is it? The tag this, the tag that. This is not a tag. This is not a tag. It's sewn in. This is sewn in.
Great vidos MAGA communism is rising. Leftists crying and scattering in disarray.
Thank you so much, Christopher. I appreciate you. So this is sewn in. This is not a tag. This is not plastic. It's sewn into the... So should I rip that off? I didn't know if I should rip that off because it's sewn into the fucking suit. So I'm pretty sure this is not... I'm pretty sure this is not supposed to be taken off. But anyway, this is a sports blazer, which means it's not actually a suit jacket. It's just a sport. It's just like a casual blazer, pretty much, that you can like wear it with jeans and shit. So everyone kept talking about the fucking tags and shit, but you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. All right, the tag is that's not a tag. It's like sewn into the suit. Don't wear it again. I might just wear it again. You know, I might just wear it again. I might just wear it again, just to troll, I guess. What else did I get? What else? Very nit. Oh yeah, the editing. I want to ask you guys a question. Did you like the editing style? Because with the way the editing style was that it was like a pure and distilled based on the topics that were relevant. Because there were some parts that were, you have to understand these were conversations. So some of these parts we're talking about irrelevant stuff like our backgrounds, you know, what we've done so far in the day, other kind of stuff. Then it's them talking about irrelevant kind of topics that, as far as I was concerned, were irrelevant. You know, so there was just a lot of... Oh, also another thing we had to edit out. We had to edit out everything that was YouTube TOS, and that was mainly COVID related. There was a lot of COVID, you know, related stuff, and just YouTube and then also the other big thing we could not include in the video was the stuff that was relating to J6, as well as the integrity of a certain event that YouTube has banned any discussion of. So we had to edit all of those things out, and we couldn't include any of that. And then also there was the problem of some videos had no audio at all. And it's just a shame because some of the best ones had no audio, right? And some of the ones we showed you, like half of them had no audio, and the best parts were I told Ibra this in person. I was like, if I tell them this, they're not gonna believe, or the haters won't believe me. They're just gonna be like, oh, you're just saying that. And that's why I got really demoralized and depressed when I found out that the first half of our footage was completely obsolete. It didn't have any audio. And then it was like 3 p.m. at this point, and I was ready to give up. And I was like, no, fuck it. I'm going to make a video of this. So I got like 12 or like 13 more interviews than before. And then lo and behold, it turns out some of the interviews before were salvageable. And the ones after still had some choppy audio, but they were much better. And the whole thing turned out really well. The whole thing turned out much... Like, you guys understand, compared to on the ground... Like, there was a big feeling of defeat when I found out that the first, 5 interviews we did had no audio. But I kept pushing. And we thought we fixed the audio problem, and we didn't. And then I'm going to continue speaking on this, because it's important. Yeah, I know Elon Musk is going through the Twitter deal. We're going to go one at a time. So... okay, so one of the also things that people are accusing me of, that because I lurk on Twitter, I can still see shit, is they're saying that I'm deceiving people, or I'm tricking people, and I'm lying, and that what I'm doing is tricks. Any longtime viewer of my streams will know that at the most fundamental meat and potatoes level, everything I was telling those people is what I say on stream. Sometimes ad verbatim. Now, I wasn't talking about the esoteric details of theory because it's not relevant to that context. On the one hand, you know, they call me overly online and terminally online, and I don't know how to talk to normal people. And on the other hand, they have this view that if I don't talk about the esoteric depths of theory, and I don't fucking know, if I don't talk about Sophiology and Dugin, and, you know, then that means I'm lying to them. No, it doesn't. It just means I'm talking about what's relevant to the context. And I'm also meeting them at their level, which by the way isn't condescending. It's just like, what do these people care about? What's relevant to them? That's where I'm meeting them. And so, no, there's no deception or trickery going on whatsoever. And by the way, everything I told them as far as the meaning of communism is concerned, a lot of people didn't notice the most important and crucial part of what I did when it comes to giving the real relevance and context to the word communism, because most communists haven't read Engels' Utopian and Scientific. Communism isn't like some society you're going to describe to them. And, oh, this is the policies we should have, or this is like the model we should have. No, communism is supposed to be the movement of the working class. So that was the most important part, is like identifying the working class as like a necessary subject of politics. Okay, so that was probably the most important part as far as what was relevant about communism is concerned. And then I also talked about things that aren't even necessarily like necessary for a communist state, which is like nationalizing a lot of stuff. But I got people to come around to the idea of nationalizing not only natural resources and land, but strategic sectors of the economy. And everything I said was in line with the Chinese model. I wasn't deceiving anyone. When I said, oh, promote, for example, when I was like, promote small businesses and promote small entrepreneurs, what is the context of that? Okay, it's very simple. The context of that is that in a socialist system, in a modern socialist system, a post-Soviet socialist system, but you could even argue to some extent the Soviet system under Stalin. But in a socialist system, the government and public ownership kind of confines itself to things that would otherwise be monopolized by private monopolies. They don't micromanage the like small levels of the economy. That's even true for Stalin's Soviet Union, where the government did not own the kolkhozes. Were they collective forms of property? Yes, but that was in continuity with the Russian communal form of agriculture that had existed for hundreds of years, actually. It wasn't some like completely new innovation. The kolkhozes were very much a kind of standardization of the Russian peasant commune that was being eliminated gradually under capitalism. So the reason you have this collective form of agriculture in the Soviet Union is because that's the national context. That's the national and civilizational context of the Russian people. That is the form of relations that even supersedes specific modes of production, because the Russian peasant commune... Thank you so much, MJ. Appreciate you so much. The Russian peasant commune existed under the Asiatic mode of production. It existed under feudalism. It existed under serfdom. And it existed under capitalism. And it existed under socialism. So it reflects a specificity of the Russian national character that is not reducible to the specific mode of production. And the reason the communal form of agriculture didn't work in China is because it did not reflect the specificity of the Chinese traditional relations of production. So in the American context, the traditional, I guess, agrarian relations have always been based on the homestead. The homestead model is basically like family ownership of plots for use, united by, as a node, connected by common infrastructure. So you have this kind of like Wild West, you have these different nodes, and it's connected by common infrastructure. That's the context of what socialism with American characteristics would look like. So no, I wasn't tricking or deceiving anyone, because what I was conveying to them was this idea that we're going to have common ownership over the things that are otherwise monopolized, like oil and energy and infrastructure, and even like the steel industry and these giant industries, probably following the state-owned enterprise model where they actually do have to compete in the market, even on an international level. But on the other hand, at the level of small, because I'm going to tell you something, the reason communism in America is so off-putting to people isn't because of this idea of common ownership. It's because of the idea of common ownership at like the minutia of life. This idea that like your toothbrush is going to be owned by the fucking government, and that like you're not going to have any ability to break out of the confines of this overwhelming bureaucracy that's going to regulate every detail and every aspect of your life. And there's going to be no room for that frontier where you go out and innovate without any prior oversight or any kind of like that is very contrary to the American national specificity, and rightfully so, right? This idea that, you know, we're just, everything we do is going to be bureaucratically and institutionally mediated, and there's going to be no room for the individual to step out of the fucking box and actually do things and go to unprecedented, you know, have the freedom to like do things that are unprecedented and creative. That is very much contrary to the American national specificity. So I stand by that, not just in the context of talking to these MAGA people. I stand by that even in a very dense and intricate theoretical context. I'm not deceiving or tricking anyone. It is actually what I believe would be true for the American specificity. And what I have said about this in the past attests to as much. I've actually talked about this in the past. And so that's on record. So the goalposts have basically changed. First, what they were saying is that we would not be able to go to Trump rallies and convince Trump people to be open to this idea of MAGA communism. That's the first thing they said. Now, the second thing they're doing now, which is a complete shifting of the goalposts, is saying that, oh, but you weren't really talking about communism, Haas. That's not real communism. Okay, well, I beg to fucking differ. Yes, it is real fucking communism. The communism has always been about, first of all, it's not a form of economic voluntarism where the economic sphere is reduced to political relations of production. That's like primitive accumulation. That is not what communism is. Communism is basically, it's a force distilled in history by means of science. Communism is a force through history, and it's the force of some kind of common substance uniting a people across the relations of production. There's some kind of fundamental or common substance that is animating history. Ergo, communism is the riddle of history solved. So to put that in layman's terms, communism is just referring to the invisible social substance and common substance that glues together a society and actually unites a society. And the phenomena of communism refers to the consciousness of that substance. So communism just refers, so during the Enlightenment, we discovered, heliocentrism, and we discovered various chemical and physical processes, various natural processes. So here comes, and I'm describing to you how Marx saw it. You can disagree with me, but this is how Marx saw it. When it came to communism, which was also an extension of that Renaissance humanism legacy, where we want to gain insight and knowledge into the arts and sciences, communism was basically a kind of consciousness, an emerging consciousness of this common social substance, which has always existed, just like physical processes have always existed, just like chemical processes have always existed. But for the first time, we're having some kind of insight into that common social substance. So the utopians basically interpreted, they developed that kind of knowledge, not as an actual science that's tested in reality and is like delivered to actual real world practice, but kind of more in terms of like, okay, let's set up society from scratch. Let's take this common social substance and let's organize it in a very methodical and specific way to our liking and according to our passions and according to our emotions and according to our ideals. And that was the utopians. Now, Friedrich Engels, when he distinguishes the idea of scientific socialism, he's basically saying scientific socialism means scientific insight into the socius, which is what Marxist class analysis is. It's a scientific insight into the relations of production, and distilling that insight into some kind of practical result. And that practical result, in turn, gives us more insight, and so we just basically surrender ourselves and deliver ourselves to this process that is outside of our will, or sorry, that is prior to our consciousness and prior to our will, but which our consciousness and our will participates in. So that was what scientific socialism was about, according to Engels. So no, communism is not an ideal society. It's not some kind of way of organizing things. It's not when you just equalize society. It's not when the government owns everything. It's not even when communities own everything, like in terms of regulating every aspect of life and production. Communism, first and foremost, is the reflexive phenomena and reflexive movement of an objectively existing common social substance. That's what communism is. So I just think people don't, and I'm not saying like, oh, my version of communism has never been tried. I am telling you what communism has always been. It's been this way in Russia, it's been this way in China, it's been this way in North Korea. Everywhere communism has existed, this is what it was. So people just don't understand this because it hasn't been correctly translated into the American context, which is what I'm trying to do, which is what Infrared has always been trying to do, and which is basically where we're coming from, right? We want to translate communism into the American context. So that's what communism is. People have the wrong idea. I guess the way I would put it is that, and I've had like in-depth intellectual theoretical debates about this. Now, did I simplify it? Yeah, but I said the same thing. I didn't change my message or alter my message in any capacity. What I told those people on video is what I believe. And I can, it's like, for example, when I said shit about promote entrepreneurship, I'll give you the context of that. So once the monopolies are crushed by means of nationalization or reparcelization, there emerges, the need, there emerges a phenomena where from below, the state has a role in promoting some kind of up-and-coming form of economic development that's happening at this micro or atomic level. So in the Soviet context, that was the kolkhozes, right? Once the landowners and the nobles were, the nobility who had serfs and whatever, were overthrown, that which was a monopoly and all the land is nationalized, this was then the opportunity for, the common peasant to actually build, right? Build, not with the government telling them what to do, but actually take the initiative. So initiative is very important. It's not private initiative necessarily, because it's not private initiative in a technical sense, but in a colloquial sense, yeah, it's a private initiative. In a technical sense, it's not, because private property is referring to a form of alienation, and it's an abstraction rather than just referring to like something that's outside of the explicit public commons. You guys have to understand, I'm gonna say this unironically, like, I am literally a Marx scholar. Not just a Marxist, I'm a Marx scholar. I have read Marx probably more than any Marxist you know of, or you've ever spoken to, or you've seen them tweet something. I know more about Marxism than them. Like, they will not be able to tell you what Marx said about crude communism, or where Marx was even coming from when it comes to communism and stuff. By the way, I know we typically associate the word entrepreneur with capitalism, just colloquially, right? Because during the Cold War, there was a popularization of capitalism. And this was actually the opposite of what capitalism really was. So for a long time, capitalism was understood in terms of imperialism by like the Communist Party and by Marxists, which was basically, it turned into monopoly capitalism, right? And then it's like monopoly, financialization, whatever. So capitalism existed at a very abstract level that's removed from the people. It's like at the heights of the elite, the big banks and the monopolies and yada, yada, yada. So during the Cold War and the post-war period, there was a new phenomena of small enterprises that emerged because of the fruits of the post-war, where from below Americans kind of had the opportunity to open up businesses and basically take on some kind of individual initiative. And then you had the phenomena of consumerism as well, which was strictly entwined with this. And this is how capitalism, quote unquote, was sold to people. They were basically told the view that, hey, the communists, they want to take away your home, because now you own homes after the post-war period, and they also want to take away your ability to start businesses, because in the post-war period, people were able to start businesses. The problem is that these small enterprises that emerge following the Cold War period, these new opportunities people have to have independent means of subsistence, home ownership, car ownership, small businesses, these do not follow capitalist relations of production. These are actually the result of an incipient information economy and an incipient socialist mode of production. That's, as Engels put it, invading from the future. So this ability for people to kind of take out loans and kind of take on these initiatives, that wasn't capitalism. That was a result of an already consolidated, like, proto-socialist system. Because it only became possible as a result of, like, this extreme level of socialization that happens in the New Deal, and which is consolidated in the Second World War, which, like, nationalized pretty much the economy to an unprecedented degree. The phenomena of corporations, we typically think of corporations as capitalist enterprises, but they're not. For something to be incorporated means it is made into a subject of state intervention, regulation, and even planning. It's like recognized and officiated by the state as like part of the grid. It's part of the public sphere of the commons in a way. It's not really private in any strict sense of the term. A corporation can't be a form of private property, because private property, in the strictest sense of the term, is like a form of sovereignty in a way. At least as far as the industrial capitalist system that emerges in Britain is concerned. Private property is an institution legitimated by the state that the state cannot touch. It's like you are sovereign over your property. But a corporation is the opposite of that, because it's officiated by the state and it's a subject of the state. That's what a corporation is. So a lot of wacky things happen after the post-war period, where capitalism becomes redefined in a very colloquial and relatable way to people. So capitalism becomes ideological and political rather than a mode of production. So that's important to bear in mind. Because, let me just put it this way. All of the capitalism that was popular after the 1940s or 50s wasn't actually capitalism. It was a layer of opportunity and initiative that citizens of America were able to take atop a more fundamental layer of extremely heavy-handed state intervention and planning and regulation and yada, yada, yada. So it's completely wrong that people... when people think capitalism versus communism, they've individualized it in such a deep way. They're thinking of it in terms of, like, my favorite one is like the Halloween idea. Oh, if you go trick-or-treating and you pool all your candy together and you distribute it equally, that's communism. But if you keep your candy based on your individual knocking on doors and shit, that's capitalism. So people have found ways to like individualize the capitalism or communism. That's a result of Cold War propaganda. It has nothing to do with reality. That's an ideology of capitalism. But the ideology of capitalism corresponds to a socialist mode of production. When capitalism has to become an ideology, it's not a mode of production anymore.
From Schopenhauer?
Indirectly, not directly. I don't think I would say so directly. If capitalism has to become an ideology, it's not capitalism anymore. Why? Because capitalism is an implicit set of relations of production, and it's an objective mode of production. It's not something you have to aestheticize or idealize. If you have to do that, you're not living in capitalism anymore. So, yeah, that's what you have to keep in mind. That's also why I don't mention words like capitalism, because when you mention the word capitalism, what people immediately think is, okay, how are you going to how are you going to like micromanage and regulate my life? Capitalism to me means the freedom to have initiative, to actually do things outside of the control of an institution or a bureaucracy. And that's what capitalism means to me. It means just this basic freedom, not being owned by banks and in debt and whatever. That's what they think it means, right? So when that's why it's such a distraction. The socialism versus capitalism debate in the United States context was a really big downfall of the Bernie Sanders movement, because they individualized. This is my fucking problem with the whole debate that happened, which was so false, right? These modes of production, which are impersonal, scientific, objective modes of production, became ideologized and individualized, and all of a sudden people were debating, and then they became culturalized, basically. So socialism became cultural, and capitalism became cultural. If you are someone who likes to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and take individual initiative, oh, I'm more capitalistic. If you're like a pussy who's institutionalized and you're a snowflake, oh, you're more socialistic. And that's what those words came to mean. So instead of capitalism fucking meaning like the central banks and the fucking Federal Reserve and, like the actual things that control our economy and the actual ruling capitalist class, which, by the way, the last vestige of capitalism that exists in America and throughout the world is in the financial institutions. They're still there. They didn't go anywhere. All of the oil bankers, all those people, they're still there. The derivatives market is fucking huge. You don't know how big that shit is, right? That's where it is. Okay? It's not in it's not in this, oh, I want to take my own initiative. That's a completely moot debate. You have two peasants. This is how fucking stupid it is, right? During the Bernie Sanders movement, they culturalized capitalism and socialism. So you had this thing where the peasants are now bickering amongst each other while they're still getting fucked by the Lord, right? The Lord is still there, and you're arguing over nothing, okay? Sure, you agree to disagree about capitalism and socialism. Who gives a fuck? What about this fucking Lord that objectively is ruling over you? Now, as far as I'm concerned, capitalism is just referring to the remnants of a system that exists in the concentrated power of financial capital, which it's not something we can relate to, is what I'm trying to say. It's not relatable. When people say, "Oh, I'm a capitalist," that's a culturalization and ideologization of capitalism, which it's a distraction, and socialism has come to mean the same exact thing. So there you go. I mean, I've always said this. To me, free market capitalism is a utopian socialist ideology. Free market capitalism is like this designed artificial system. It's this ideal society people want to have that is in contrast to real existing capitalism. And the reason I call it socialistic is because free market capitalism is a social. The ideal of free market capitalism is a social ideology. It's an ideology with social implications, social ramifications, and social relevance. It's not like some acknowledgement of some Darwinian wilderness. Thank you so much, Megadolphin.
I've missed the past couple streams. Do payments for the con.
Thank you so much, Megadolphin. I appreciate it so much. But so when people, for example, free market libertarian capitalist ideology. Now, that's not referring to like some Darwinian wilderness of like, okay, I'm just acknowledging the reality. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Get my grind up, and I don't have time for ideology. Okay, that would be like capitalism, right? But when it's like this ideal, it's no different than utopian socialism. Think about it. It's an ideal of society that is meant to solve the social crisis and ameliorate the social ills. Now, is it doing it in a way that like directly says we should socialize everything. No, but it's, in a way, it is saying we should socialize the economy because it has given social significance to free markets, and it's given social significance to, that type of ideal of a society. So yeah, it would be a form of socialization. It would be just as artificial as socialism or communism in order to maintain, right? So so that's what I would say to that. So the whole capitalism versus socialism thing, it's just stupid, right? Unless we're using these words to describe reality, we're wasting our fucking time. Debating about what ideal society you want to have is just a distraction from owning up to understanding the fucking society we live in today. Two peasants that are bickering about what future ideal society they'd like to have is fucking stupid, because in the society they're actually living in, they're getting fucked over by their lord. So the first and most prescient concern you should have is, how do we overthrow the lords that exist now? Okay? Period. Point blank period. So then people are asking, okay, Haas, why communism? Why do you call yourself a communist? Because I don't think communism is utopian. Because I'm a Marxist-Leninist. I've been the same. I've never fucking changed. From the start. Okay? Communism isn't a utopia. Thank you, Unknown Soldier.
But capitalism has no normative claims. Socialism, on the other hand, does.
But it depends. Are you describing capitalism descriptively or prescriptively? Thank you so much, Dar.
Great work at the rally.
The way I think about it is that I describe capitalism descriptively, and I describe socialism descriptively too, because I think socialism as a mode of production has succeeded the capitalist mode of production. It's not that I want socialism. I'm acknowledging the objective reality that there's this transformation that is either underway or has already happened. Now, you can have the debate all you want, but Marx and Engels were very clear that the socialist mode of production was something happening, whether we liked it or not. It's an evolution of history that is happening. It's even happening regardless of a proletarian dictatorship. You can postpone the proletarian revolution as long as you want, but that change in the relations of production, as Engels described with the rise of joint stock ownership and all that shit, that's happening objectively. Modes of production don't change according to the voluntary circumstances of political change. Now, does politics eventually objectively update itself to the mode of production? That's what's going on right now. Almost every useful way of understanding the political contradictions in America today can be understood in terms of the superstructure struggling to adjust itself to a new base.
I remember you saying utilitarianism is satanic. What's your thoughts on John Stuart Mill? I hate utilitarianism.
I've never read Mill, but I have a bad impression of him. So that's what I'll tell you. But thank you so much for the 10 United Path. So guys, what I'm trying... Oh my God, thank you so much, Emirio. Appreciate you, man. So guys, what I'm trying to say is that... What we're witnessing right now with the political contradiction in America, this is MAGA communism theory, basically. What we're witnessing in America today is a contradiction between the base and the superstructure. The base has changed, and the superstructure, which belongs to the era of formalist liberalism, classical bourgeois liberalism, is no longer able to adjust to it. And that's the significance of communism. And this is quite literally at a metaphysical level as well. So, for example, the dispute in the realm of science and truth and facts that you saw with Trump's administration, where it seems like even facts are now politicized on both sides of the aisle. Let's not even be partisan. Let's just keep having an objective view right now. Well, that is in conformity with the metaphysics of a socialist mode of production. Reality itself has become partisan because the era of abstract, universal, formalistic liberalism is over. Now, in formalistic liberalism, which is undialectical, human consciousness does not participate in reality. There's just an objective, cold, hard truth reality that's out there, and we don't. It doesn't. It's blind to us, basically. Well, that is the aesthetic of capitalism. That is like the metaphysics of capitalism, politically, scientifically, and whatever you want. So you've seen that rip apart after 2016 with the MAGA movement and the liberal backlash to it. So this is what's defining the internal political contradictions in America. Also, this dispute that's going on over respect for bourgeois formalism of democracy. Like on the MAGA side of things, there's a dispute, and on the liberal side of things, they're saying, "Oh, Trump is not willing to accept the results of the elections because the formal procedure of legitimating politics has come into contradiction with the actual objective reality of politics." All of these things are very telling signs of a transition, one mode of production into another, and a superstructure that is just agonizingly split over how to respond to it. And they both fail to respond to it, or at least, but it's how they fail that's what matters here. It's how they fail that matters. So, isn't Great Reset the communist solution to this contradiction? No, it's not. I'll explain to you what the Great Reset is in a second, right after this dono. I'll explain that in a second. Thank you so much, Chris Morlock.
Labor theory of value is not a normative claim. It's the way reality works. It's descriptive, not prescriptive. Rentier and finance has the most to lose from this. Industrial capital less so.
Ah, there you go. Well, I don't think industrial capital even exists anymore. It's all been subsumed by finance. Think about it. I mean, where do you see it independent forms of industrial capital, if not in independent sovereign states like, China, Russia, maybe even Brazil now? And even those undergo some kind of... And I think industrial capital is dead, basically, is what I would say. And I think, some respond to that with financialization and others with social. China socialized the means of production. We financialized it. But industrial capital is gone. It's out of the picture. Which is why the socialism for capitalism debate is so stupid, because we're ignoring what mode of production do we actually live in. Forget about the ideal one we'd like to live in. What is actually our society? That's where you begin. That's the square one of scientific socialism. So continuing on to what I was saying, socialism is not an ideal. It's descriptive. It's not prescriptive. So that's where I'm coming from with. So where does communism thing fit into this? MAGA communism, first of all, is about class politics. It's not about convincing people to live in your commune. That's perverted and stupid. It's not about convincing people to live in your ideal of a society. Because guess what? No two people are alike. Your ideal of a society is going to be different from my ideal of a society. How you run your fucking house is different from how I run my fucking house. You like to put your soap on the shelf. I like to put my fucking soap on the counter, right? You like to fucking you like to leave your toilet seat down. I like to leave it up. So it's like those small things, right? You know what I mean? Trying to impose your ideal of a society is just based on your personality. At that point, you're just culturalizing politics. You're not actually owning up to political realities. The truth is, if communism is real, it's a real thing, it's a real force, it actually refers to the common social substance that unites us, it's going to have to make room for the extreme variance and range of different personalities that exist in our society. So this conflict of personalities, while relevant in terms of the culture war, isn't directly relevant for politics or describing economic modes of production. If you're like a sissy lib of some kind, you're probably more likely to want to have, a safe space, institutionalized, bureaucratized mode of production. If you're, if you're just like a fucking normal person and a dignified human being, you're probably going to want the ability to take initiative outside of bureaucracies and outside of institutions. So you have to understand what is and isn't communism, what is or isn't capitalism. It's not about ideals or visions for society. These are scientific descriptions of the society we actually live in or are not living in. So that's why MAGA communism is about class politics. It's political. All the communism thing is just acknowledging the common reality of the working class and the need for a government, aka a proletarian dictatorship in scary terms, that reflects that reality. That's what communism is. It's not a theory. It's not a project. See, that's the problem with political ideologies as people imagine them. Political compass. These are projections of what kind of society you want to live in, rather than descriptions of the ways we react to the society we live in now. So I want you guys to quote that, right? Politics is not about projecting what kind of society you want to live in. It's about how you respond to the one you live in now. That's what defines political differences. And the reason there's political differences, by the way, all of this is in my MAGA Communism Substack. The reason there's political differences is because of class antagonism, because of an underlying social contradiction that is not that can't be represented with bourgeois formalism, which says, universal man. There's no room for contradictions there. It's all one-sided formalism. So that's what we're really dealing with here. We're dealing with the need for people to understand what is and isn't politics and political differences in the first place. And that kind of brings me to my next point, because it seems like a lot of people are still confused about the MAGA communism thing, and I'll explain it very simply. MAGA communism is not referring to the merger of two sets of policy orientations or two sets of ideologies. It's not an ideology. It's not an ideology. Just keep repeating that over and over again. It's not an ideology. MAGA is not an ideology. MAGA is not an electoral strategy. It's not a political party that exists yet, right? MAGA is just referring to a version of America. So America has split into two. And I'm a Maoist, so when things split into two, you have to take a fucking side. Now, as far as I can see, America split into two. One America is MAGA America. All MAGA means is the self-reflection of America. Make America great again means that the essence of what America is discordant from what it presently appears to be. Or you can interpret that contradiction in whatever kind of ways. Like, the reality of America is discordant with what America is now, right? You can interpret it in all sorts of ways, but that's what MAGA means. MAGA means like this redoubling of America and the national reality of America. That's why MAGA is an incipient form of American socialism. Yep, I said it. Clip it and ship it. MAGA is an incipient form of American socialism. Now, is it a scientific form of socialism? No. But in substance, it's socialistic. It is substantively socialistic. It is not scientifically or even consciously socialistic. But substantively, it is. Why? Because in the sphere of bourgeois formalism, we don't acknowledge our national reality in with a social lens. Let me put it this way, right? MAGA is America with a twist. You see? It's America with a twist. It's socialist realism. You see? There's the bourgeois realism, which is just America. Oh, just America, right? America has always been the same thing and it'll always be the same thing. But then there's America with a twist. You see? There's America where you put a lens on that's a partisan lens and you see it in a different way. And the way you see it in a different way, you're instantiating that consciously in terms of a movement or a consciousness or a culture or something, right? Or a politics even. That is socialism. Socialism is reality with a twist. Now, what is the twist? Again, I'm a Hegelian schizophrenic. I'm a German idealist fanatic. It's my background is German idealism. The twist you can interpret in Kantian terms as the transcendental social mediation of reality. That there's no just plain reality that exists outside of there. It's transcendentally and socially mediated. So that's kind of maybe the historicist, socially relativist perspectives you get from Kantianism. Or you can have the Hegelian perspective, which understands that specific contradiction between reality as it is in itself and reality as it is for us as an immanent contradiction in the real itself. That's my view. I'm a Hegelian. But whether you're coming from a Kantian perspective or a Hegelian perspective, you're understanding there's a split. It's America with a twist. It can't just be America by itself. America by itself doesn't exist. It needs that extra little twist. The reason it needs that extra little twist is there's a contradiction here. That contradiction, if you're a Marxist, is class warfare. Class warfare is referring to a contradiction at the level of our social relations of production. And one class just so happens to include consciousness of those social relations of production. Ergo, socialism, communism. So that's where we're coming from with the MAGA communism thing. America with a twist. The twist is socialism, or it's communism. That's the twist. Or I should say, America with a twist, the twist being the social reality of America. The American socius. See, America is not some empty object. That's the metaphysics of the bankers. That's the metaphysics of the capitalists. America is a socially substantive reality. America has a concrete social substance. It has a concrete national substance. It's a determinate reality. Now, how do you translate it in layman's terms? I'll tell you. America isn't a fucking idea, as Joe Biden says. Oh, America is founded on an idea. No, it's not. America has a substantive material reality that exists prior to our ideas. Now, you can, whatever its relation to some Platonic idea, sure, whatever. But America's a reality. It's not an idea. It's not an ideal. It's a fucking reality. And all MAGA is the first way we've come to acknowledge that reality. It's our way of being conscious of that reality. That's socialism, okay? Now, is MAGA at the final stage of its development? No. But if you're a communist and you exist in this country, right? If you're an American and you're a communist, that is square one. MAGA is square one. The mainstream media and the establishment aren't after Trump because of whatever reasons you have to be against Trump, because I don't know, he said something bad about Mexicans once, and I don't even know if that's true, by the way. They're after him because Trump is seen as a rogue state actor. He's seen in the same way Kim Jong-un is. He's seen in the same way Xi Jinping is. He's seen in the same way Hugo Chavez was, or even Fidel Castro, or, even Vladimir Putin, or Lukashenko in Belarus. That is why they're after him. That's the reason they're after him. They're after him because he does represent this kind of, this kind of socialism. And when I say socialism, I just mean this kind of, as they put it, this alternative fact, right? This malign actor, this rogue state, that doesn't fit within the kind of smooth continuity and continuum of, the modern realist or bourgeois reality. So he's seen as like this insufferable malign force because he represents a primitive form of socialist consciousness. He represents that. Do I think Trump has that? I don't know. I can't get in his fucking head. But I'm telling you, that's why they're after him. That's why he poses a problem. Because he's owning up to the fucking reality of America, not the abstraction of America. He's acknowledging the pound of flesh that is from America. He's acknowledging America as it is concretely. He's giving recognition to the American working class. That is dangerous. It's dangerous to fucking do that, okay? You're not supposed to fucking do that. If you're the president or if you're a political figure in this country, you're supposed to say, we're all Americans, and we're all ideal globalists. We all believe in progressive globalism. We all believe in the values of human rights and what the bankers think and in the environment. And America's an idea, and we're all united by an idea. And then Trump is out here saying, we're all Americans. And then he gives them a wink. And then he says, we're all Americans because we love hamburgers. We love NASCAR. We love monster trucks. And we love WWE. You know what I mean? Like, he's giving it determinacy. You're not supposed to fucking do that. You're not supposed to give it determinacy, because if you give it determinacy, it's dangerous. That means you're telling the peasants that they are a power in this country. The peasants aren't supposed to be fucking aware of themselves. You understand? It's like waking up from the Matrix and seeing everybody in the fucking machine. It's not supposed to fucking happen. We're all supposed to be in this dream state where, oh yeah, America's just an idea and it's an abstraction. I'm just going to listen to what the fucking TV says. You're not supposed to wake up and be like, holy shit, there's a reality here that you don't see on TV. And it's a funny Hegelian irony that Trump is a reality TV star. There's a reality here you don't see on TV. You don't see that on TV. That is fucking dangerous to acknowledge. When Trump talked about the border crisis, the racism that he's infamous for, that everyone nails him on a cross for because he was being racist. I'm not going to comment on, oh, he said they're rapists, whatever. I'm not going to comment on that. And obviously, I love Mexicans. Obviously, it goes without saying. But the reason the media went after him when he said that was because there is a reality on the border that you don't see on TV. And that's a fact. There is an importation of cheap migrant pretty much slave labor to drive down American wages. It's a reality you don't see on TV, and nobody fucking acknowledged it or recognized it. Now, Trump came on stage, and he did something you're not supposed to fucking do. He named it. He recognized it. He acknowledged it. No. That's a dangerous thing. That puts him in the camp of Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un. You know, listen. We are living in a Stalinist reality, objectively. We're living in a socialist, realist reality. This is Xi's world. This is Putin's world. This is Kim Jong-un's world. This is the real truth of the world. If you want to understand truth, objective truth, it's here, right? That's the truth of the world right now. And liberal states hide, obfuscate, and lie about the nature of this world, which is why you see these strange similarities between, like, you know, oh, a totalitarian communist state and where liberalism is going. Because reality is already bent. We're already fucking living in George Orwell's 1984. The Chinese just acknowledge it and own up to it and embrace it and then own it. They own it there, right? Here, it's fucking scary totalitarianism because we don't own it. We don't understand it. We don't understand this common social substance that unites us and which bends and twists and contorts our reality. And that's also why they accuse Trump of totalitarianism. Oh, Trump's telling alternative facts. That's what dictators do. That's what totalitarian leaders do. That's not what Trump fucking did. Where's the alternative facts? All Trump did is give the facts that cannot be compatible with the status quo and the prevailing order. And he's nailed on a cross for it. Now, the Great Reset is the way, and it's the last hurrah of the ruling class and the globalists who, in a depraved way, completely redesign society to maintain their insane, decrepit, failing, and rotting, dogmatic kind of prejudiced, I would even say metaphysics, philosophy of the world. They insist and they die by this satanic, literal, metaphysical Satanist view that reality is something completely blind, impartial, and uncaring to human realities. Reality is completely malignant with regard to human reality. So we can't have a government for, by, of, and for the people. We have to have a government by, for, and of Mammon, and by, for, and of Moloch, and by, for, and of fucking Satan. We can't have it for the people, because if you acknowledge it for the people, you're saying that you're saying miracles are real. You're saying that reality reflects back upon us in and of itself ourselves. You're saying like that we're part of this reality. We're not just some accident. Reality doesn't exist at our expense. Reality itself is bent in such a way that gives rise to our existence. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a fucking miracle. That has Christological significance. Right? Lenin had an immense Christological significance precisely for this reason. Because Lenin was a theorist. Lenin was an angry intellectual, and he was kicked out of all the snobby intellectual circles, and he pulled himself up by the bootstraps, quite literally, and from the ground, as much as he intellectualized reality, he made it a point of independent sovereignty, political sovereignty, social sovereignty. Lenin stood by his insight. He broke with the continuum of European modernity and the status quo that then prevailed. He stuck his foot on the fucking ground and he remained true and faithful to this alternative timeline that was Marxism, that was represented by Marxism. Because remember, Lenin wrote The Development of Capitalism in Russia. He wrote that book. And Lenin was seeing that he was on a timeline, that Russia was going to develop into this capitalist country. And he could see how corrupt, evil, rotten, and decadent this timeline he was living on was. Because it was a full continuity between it and the international British system, the British Empire, the bankers, the financiers, these civilized liberals of Europe. And he broke with it. He broke with it radically. He broke with it abruptly. And he remained faithful to a theory of modernity, a Promethean theory of modernity, which was called Marxism. And to gain a base for this alternative timeline, this alternative path to modernity, Lenin went to the people. He went to the people. He didn't go to Mammon. He didn't go to the abstraction of philosophy, the abstraction of thought, the abstraction in general. He went to something that had a twist. People, the narod, right? The same people of the narodniks, the populace in Russia, which he repudiated on the grounds. Not that they went to the people, but that they didn't acknowledge we are headed for a certain timeline. You cannot preserve the past. You can't preserve even the present. You have to acknowledge this confrontation coming from the future, which was the conflict between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. Beyond this, Lenin was a disciple of Herzen. He was otherwise a narodnik, but this is what he insisted on. Something on my beard. I don't know what this shit is. So that was Lenin's significance. And this complete break with bourgeois modernity and bourgeois formalism. Lenin, he was an intellectual and he went to the people. He was a hyper intellectual. He was a theoretician. And to this day, go to rural Russia, go to Donbass. Got these old people who are the sons and daughters of the Russian peasantry. And guess who hangs in their living room? Guess whose face for them represents an ardent defender of the people, a hero, even a savior of the people? Lenin. Do they understand all of Lenin's theories? Have they read all of Lenin? Have they read even a word of Lenin? Probably not. These were the sons and daughters of illiterate peasants in Russia. Lenin for them is Prometheus. Lenin has a Christological significance. Lenin came down from heaven as man, as the people. He came down from the ruling class, if you will, right? The intellectuals, the philosophers. He came down from the seat of philosophy, which is the seat of the ruling class, by the way. And Lenin didn't know the people completely. He didn't know them. He was an intellectual. And there was this coincidence that happened. You can call it a coincidence, but I like to call it a miracle. Where they somehow recognized each other. The peasants couldn't read Lenin. They don't know anything. They didn't understand Lenin's theories or ideologies. And Lenin also didn't necessarily understand the peasants. But somehow they recognized each other. Somehow Lenin became a symbol of the growth and the uplifting of the peasants. That's why he hangs on their walls to this day, in their homes. His portrait, his statues, his bust, it's all there. There's a song, I think it's a Moldovan song or a Romanian song, and it's called Lenin Gave Us Light. That's what he did. He didn't fully understand it. They didn't fully understand it from an intellectual level, but somehow it happened in reality. It happened in reality itself. Lenin started as just this angry intellectual. He was just an angry guy. He was an angry theorist, and he was an angry intellectual. And about 60 years after his death, one of the most powerful superpowers on planet Earth was building giant busts of his head on the side of mountains and on the side of canyons. And his portrait still hangs in the homes of the Russian people. If you don't think that's a miracle, I don't know what to tell you. The reason people have to cope so hard about this idea that the Bolsheviks were funded by the ruling class and that's why they came into power is because it is a fucking miracle. It's a Christological miracle. If you cannot accept the miracle of Lenin, you're not a Christian. Because the miracle of Lenin is the same as the miracle of Christ. Am I saying Lenin is Christ? No. But I'm saying it has a Christological significance. Christ is supposed to prove something about our reality. And if you believe in Christ, then the miracle of Lenin should be superfluous to you. It should be possible to you already. It was a miracle. Yes, it happened. There was an alternative timeline that actually happened. There was a glitch in the matrix, whatever you want to fucking call it. Yes, it did happen. That's Lenin's significance. And Lenin himself was shocked by it. Did you know that I think it was 60 days or 61 days out of the October Revolution, Lenin went outside and he started dancing in the snow. You want to know why he started dancing in the snow? Because he was so happy that the Soviet dictatorship, the workers' dictatorship, lasted longer than the Paris Commune. He didn't believe it. He thought, how is this possible? How is this miracle possible? The Paris Commune was a legendary event for communists because for the first time the workers took over. And then they did it in Russia, and Lenin You know, it's so unprecedented. There's no precedent for it. And it defies reality itself. It defies the logic dictating the reality of modernity from the very beginning. So Lenin went outside and he started dancing joyfully because it lasted longer than the commune. Because for him, that was the wake-up call that this is real. This miracle is real. This is possible. Now, this is why. Now, how do you go from this to MAGA? Well, that's what MAGA's significance is in this country. It's about a miracle. It's about the miracle that America can be something human, something determinate, something real. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.
When you read Lenin on the Narodniks, there is a passionate anger that belies an envy at their project, despite their naivets. When the Bolsheviks made this connection, they did it authentically.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris Morlock. I appreciate you so much. In the American context, so Lenin was a Prometheus. He was there before it was evident that it was inevitable. Before it was evident that socialism and the workers' dictatorship was inevitable, Lenin was there on the basis of faith. Today, the inevitability and the evidence of socialism and the workers' dictatorship is evident and apparent to us. And it's evident and apparent to us in the MAGA movement. I'm not saying Trump is Lenin. Trump is a cynic, probably. Trump probably, who knows what he's motivated by. But we have to receive the calling of this split in the fabric of American reality that's happened. And the reasons why it's causing a conflict. On the one hand, lie the lackeys of the bourgeoisie as we know it. This is the Democrats and the liberals and the establishment Republicans. On the other hand, you have a very primitive, very incipient, what else can you fucking call it? Socialistic movement. What faction of the bourgeoisie is behind Trump? Please name the faction of the bourgeoisie behind Trump. There's none. The Republicans fucking want to destroy Trump. They want to put DeSantis in his stead because Trump was a fucking accident. Trump was a reality TV host who accidentally, he had no intention to do this, merged with the workers of America. That's where he got all his fucking power from. Yeah, he caved in and he compromised with the Republicans, which, by the way, is why I am not optimistic about the prospects of Trump. I think he's under so much pressure. You watch this in my video. This is how we beat them. It's titled "This is how we beat them." I don't think Trump is going to succeed because precisely because he don't have a faction in the ruling class behind him. Yeah, here's the thing. Peter Thiel and that network, it's just Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel isn't a faction of the bourgeoisie. He's a rogue actor as far as the ruling class is concerned. How could he possibly take it to the heights of success? He couldn't. Because you need a class base. So see, for example, Peter Thiel's class doesn't like Peter Thiel. That's what I'm trying to say. He's stepping outside of what his fellow Silicon Valley guys like. Him and Elon Musk, right? The shareholders, the tech, whatever, they're not. You have to understand, big tech is still controlled by finance. Did you guys know that? A lot of people think big tech is like some independent thing, and it's not. Big tech is still fucking controlled by the fucking financial oligarchy. Did you know that? Well, it is. The banks are not gone. They're still fucking here. The central banks that control us in our economy are still fucking here. BlackRock. I mean, you got to understand the fucking world we live in. Evangelicals. Oh, you want to know the story of evangelicals? I'll tell you the story of evangelicals. So the rural American working class was left behind by the left and the so-called class-conscious communists who are retards. So the evangelicals came and institutionalized and organized a segment of the population that no one else was able to do and nobody else tapped into, and that's what evangelicism represents in America. There's the story of evangelicals. So you want to keep bitching about evangelicals and you're a lefty or you're a socialist or whatever the fuck you want to call yourself, blame only yourself. You only fucking have yourself to blame for that. There's Pentagon factions, military, industrial. That's not clear. It's not clear if there's a class behind Trump or Peter Thiel. Just because there's individual act, you have to make the qualitative leap from individuals to a class. To make it leap to a class, you need the element of reproducibility. I don't see that. The core of Trump's movement is the working class. Without the working class, there's no MAGA. So MAGA communism it's literally just Leninism in the American context. And yeah, you're going to meet the workers where they're at. If the word MAGA triggers you, you're already an enemy of the working class. And you're an enemy of the people. MAGA is just an acknowledgement of the other America. America with a twist. The nature of that twist is not decided beforehand. It just has a twist. We're just acknowledging there is a twist. That's all MAGA is. And this is why people who are like, Trump is a complete con man. He's a reality TV host. He's trashy. Trump, you're a fucking idiot if you say that, because you don't even fucking get it. You think people don't know that? That's the whole fucking point. Trump is a clown. Is the point. He went on WWE, directly addressing that crowd and acknowledging them. Trump is a clown. He's a clown. He's a reality host con man. People see that as a crack in the system. They see that as a crack in the ruling class. And it's a crack that allows them to take initiative. That's what the significance of that is. The clown nature of Trump just reflects the clown nature of America. Trump is a clown because America is a clown. And if America is a clown, that means there's a contradiction. So you see what the significance of Trump is? There's actually probably a direct correlation here. 2016 was a year of clowns. You guys remember the clown scare of 2016? You guys remember the movie It that came out and all that shit? And there was that guy 6ix9ine who was like a literal clown. Remember that whole fucking thing that happened? It's not an accident and it's not a coincidence. So people who call him a trashy reality TV con man don't even fucking understand the point. People see that as their opening. That's why they trust him. He's inadequate in projecting a simulation. His ability to simulate legitimacy is inadequate. So people see that as the opportunity for real legitimacy. Real sovereignty. If you don't understand this, you're probably just stupid. Even Alex Jones is done with Trump. So what does it mean to be done with Trump or pro-Trump? I've never voted in my fucking life. I've never told anyone to vote in my life ever. By the way, I did interview people who talked about voting, and I didn't even include those in the video. Because I don't ever want to have a message to tell people to go out and vote or include any such messages. I don't believe in voting. I believe in building working class political power. And then the only time we should ever vote is on the basis of that power. So I don't tell people to vote for Trump even. But I still understand Trump as a symbol and as a rallying point for an alternative form of politics. It's like that simple, you know? And people say, oh, Haas, the MAGA movement's just like the Black Hundreds. No, it's not. No, it's not. The reason why MAGA has no equivalent as far as Lenin's time is concerned is because the very overt and apparent antagonism, the metaphysical antagonism, if you want to call it that, the aesthetical antagonism, aesthetic in a strong sense. A lot of people think aesthetics just means cosmetic. No, it doesn't. It means literally how the world is made sense of. That strict antagonism was not apparent in Lenin's time, which was still the time of classical bourgeois modernity. In our time, MAGA isn't even a political movement necessarily. It's not an ideology. It's none of that. It represents something far more ambiguous and indeterminate, right? And what it represents is the fertile soil of American socialism. That's what MAGA represents. And why has this fertile soil emerged? Because we are actually transitioning, or we have already transitioned into, a socialist mode of production. So the question is, how do we respond to that? That's the pressing question of our time. The pressing question of Marxist time was capitalism is breaking down and it's transitioning into a new mode of production. How do we respond to it? Well, the question of our time, so thank you so much, Andrew. The question of our time is, it seems like the capitalist mode of production is over, so how do we respond to that destruction of capitalism as we know it? That's the pressing question of our time. MAGA failed, bro. You think so? You think so? Why don't you go outside and just fucking talk to someone? And I'm not talking. Don't talk to someone. Don't talk to your college-educated glasses wearers. Go talk to ordinary people. And hey, do you trust the media? Hey, do you believe what they're telling us about Ukraine? Hey, I guarantee you, 1 in 2, 1/2 of people are MAGA. So no, it didn't fail. MAGA's still living. Because now MAGA is an existential battle. And I'm not talking about any election. I'm not talking about any electoral scheme. I'm talking about a fundamental antagonism between the Great Reset agenda and our ability to articulate ourselves as a sovereign people. That is the division at stake. MAGA is literally life and death. It's a matter of survival. Like, I can't talk about this on YouTube, but like, when the authorities tell us to do things that are contrary to our survival, and you can't rally to the authorities, and like, what do we even fucking do anymore? How do we even have consciousness of ourselves as a people when the institution that formally represents us as a people, the government and all its subsidiaries, we can't trust them anymore? Well, MAGA is the alternative. And MAGA is an open signifier. Whatever Ernesto Laclau said about floating, I forgot which one, floating or it's an empty signifier. That's all it is. It's just people who acknowledge we're being lied to. But it's like, put it this way. Imagine the lights close and you can't see a damn thing anymore. So you go, Marco, Polo. Now imagine saying, MAGA, MAGA, and that's what MAGA is. It's a way to see in the dark from scratch. because you can't fucking trust anything else. So you're starting from square one. It's a primitive form of socialist consciousness. Square one. That's what it is. Think about it. The lights turn off. So how do we find each other? Marco Polo. That's how we find each other, right? So the lights are off. So you turn the lights on. Oh, you have to give money to Ukraine. You have to give money to Zelensky. The lights turn off. Thank you so much, Lionel. The lights turn off. Zelensky is a fraud. Zelensky is a criminal. Zelensky. You know what I mean? That's what MAGA is. They've been here since Reagan and before. No, MAGA is definitely square one. MAGA is definitely square one. I'll tell you why. The Reagan Revolution did initiate a process of Democrats going over to the Republican Party, but it didn't. But that was not a qualitative change in the way MAGA was. That was just a quantitative change. That was a quantitative change, not a qualitative one. I completely disagree. Is there a leader of MAGA? No, you're misunderstanding. MAGA is a way of describing a different reality.
I couldn't stand Anarchist Perry critiquing the bullet points and saying Jackson had not read Marx. Triumphant face, the bullet points were fire. She is a fool.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to think. Oh, by the way, you know who I saw at the MAGA rally? The person I was describing who was condescendingly talking to people, it was Trevor Noah's fucking guy, Jordan Klepper or whatever. That was him, and I didn't recognize him. And if I did, I would have trolled him, and I would have filmed myself, like the camera in front of me, I'm saying, "Yo, look at this little bitch right here," and I would have just filmed that. I wish I knew who it was. I wish I would have recognized that guy, because I would have filmed it and posted it on YouTube, and I would have gotten a lot of views, way more views than I got now for doing that shit. But I thought it was just some like local guy trying to get clout and like a tryhard basically who hired like a 10,000 camera crew trying to like lecture, look cool. But no, it was Jordan Klepper or whatever. Yeah, that was the Reddit eyebrow guy that I was talking about. That was him. That was him. So basically, every critique of the MAGA communism thing, I hate to say it, but you're just affirming the bourgeois realism that MAGA has definitively broken from. You're saying, okay, Trump is a con man. Every fucking politician in the history of America has been a con man. It's all been a con man. It's all been a deception. Okay, but that's literally the bourgeois realism and cynicism that corresponds to the existing aesthetic or metaphysics. You know what I mean? Like, you're not breaking out of anything. That's literally, if you ask Joe Biden, hey, has everyone always been corrupt, including yourself? He'd be like, yep. Darwin was right. Yep. You're Satanists. Thank you, Chris Morlock. Appreciate you.
Reaganites were a bunch of trots who became Democrats that then became neocons. It has nothing to do with MAGA people.
Yeah, that's a really important point. And I think the neocons are trying to come back through Bannon, so that's also true. But you have to understand, where do you align yourself in the process? Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, when you affirm the cynicism that all American politics is dirty, corrupt, and whatever, I'm sorry, that's the ruling class ideology already. And it's not wrong per se. It's not necessarily wrong, but where do you go from there? every response you articulate, if that is your metaphysics, if that's your aesthetic, is just a form of bourgeois ideology. Now, on the other hand, if you say, okay, one of those bastards, Trump, represents something new that we can build off of, you're doing something, you're doing what Jesus Christ did, basically. It's Christological. You're saying, you know what? There's a miracle here. You can say reality is just one meaningless series of accidents and cons and disappointments. And this is what like late 30s, mid 30s millennials like to say, because they settled with some fat, ugly bitch that they live with, and they're become fat, ugly, and retarded themselves, and they look in the mirror and they regret every decision they made in their life. So they tend to think like, and then they look at the Zoomers like us, or the young millennials like myself, who have so much more potential and opportunity that lies before us, and they're like, no, you're gonna end up just like me, miserable and bitter. Nobody forced you to choose the life path that you chose, right? But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, you need to actually have the negation of the negation to articulate a working class form of politics, not just in terms of what you tell people and what you say, but in terms of, let's say, the transcendental ground, or the metaphysical ground, if you want, Schelling, whatever, out of which you proceed with speaking to people. Like, not just what you tell people, but what kind of like basic a priori ground you're beginning with. Are you beginning from an actual objective, like, and then in practical terms, like real acknowledgement of a fundamental divide, or is the articulation of division still just an intellectual one? For example, if you really acknowledge there's an antagonism, then you're not going to dictate the form the antagonism takes. You're going to submit to that form and acknowledge that form while articulating and distilling its essence. But that's going to be your ground. It's going to be an objective ground from which you proceed. And those are two very different things. Oh, Trump is a con man. Trump is corrupt. And so what? We know our reality's fucking corrupt. Does that mean we don't exist as Americans? Does that mean there's no real America? Does that mean there's no fucking reality that presupposes? This is what you're trying to fucking say. You're trying to say reality is a piece of trash, so I want to create a new fucking reality, and I want to create a new simulation of reality. So join my party and follow my cult and my ideology and my dogma, or you're a fascist piece of shit and I want you to die. That's your position if you're a leftist. Well, that's the position of the bourgeoisie, except instead of a cult and a party, they call it the state, and they call it the universal state, and they call it their fucking, open society. They call it their institution. They call it their network society, whatever you want to fucking call it. Their great reset. That's already the bourgeoisie, and it's always been the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie never has acknowledged any human reality metaphysically. Reality is a bastard, according to them, right? Reality is a horrible, accursed, horrible thing, because let me tell you why it's satanic. I'm just going to give you the whole secret of the whole fucking thing. The bourgeoisie is the class that woke up, looked in the mirror, and saw something ugly. So they said, God has done this to me. God has broken my heart. So therefore, I have to do everything in my power to rebel against God and prove him wrong. Because my conceit that God disappointed me is stronger than... literally, I mean... When I say literal Satanism, it's literally where the ruling class is coming from. It is actual Satanism. That is where it's coming from. Don't believe me? I know it sounds crazy, but if it's like, if you know, you know. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you. You have more experience in life you need to have. But then they said, okay, so we hate God now, so we have to create everything from scratch, and everything outside that should be damned, right? Well, so that's the Satanism of today's elite. You only are arriving at a, let's just say, non-bourgeois position, proletarian position, if you're acknowledging an antecedent and objective ground that's not just some abstraction or some negation. That's what it is. And that's what MAGA is. That's all MAGA really is. Now, I'm telling you all this complicated theoretical shit. I could just tell you, go to a fucking MAGA rally. You're going to see that all these people are together, united against a common enemy in the ruling class and the establishment. And they'll be open to any anti-establishment view you have. Whereas if you go to a lib shit fucking rally, you're going to have a bunch of people in glasses try to lecture you and push back on shit from you from the perspective of like expert knowledge and authoritative, legitimative knowledge. Like, I could just tell you that. I could just tell you if you go to a fucking Biden rally or a Democrat rally, you're not going to have a base of operations you can build to create a communist movement. I mean, Joe Sims is literally now saying we need to vote for Democrats. Now, actually, I want to react to this video. Because why not? And it was put in show requests. So let's get that. So it's called Follow the Money by Joe Sims.
I think that
I agree, we should follow the money. And look at this is the most pathetic fucking display I've ever seen in my life. And no, I'm not going to be respectful to Comrade Joe. Because he called me a racist for no fucking reason. He continues to be completely arrogantly... I think he's in bed with the fucking Democrats is what I think. I'm convinced of it now. So here we go, Joe. Let me tell you what's beautiful about Joe's new background. So why is Joe, bringing out the Lenin bust? And why is Joe having this red shiny hammer and sickle? Why is Joe having such a cosmetically communistic background? Because he's going to have to make the case to people in this video to vote for the Democrats. So to boost it, to give them a pep talk. Oh yeah, like this is a form of opportunism you're going to see that's very common among the CPUSA communists. Whenever it gets close to the election cycle, they're going to virtue signal communist way harder in order to convince people to vote for the Democrats in the party. So like, okay, trust us, we're so hardcore communist. Oh yeah, Lenin bust. Oh yeah, we'll vote for the Democrats. And then after the election cycle, they'll kind of like put it back in the closet to accumulate dust. But every time there's an election cycle, they bring out that Lenin bust and they bring out their red flags and they have an extreme level of opportunistic left-wing phrase-mongering, right? So there's a piece of shit on Twitter, and his name is, and this is another example of this, his name is Jaffe Barrera, and he's part of the worst factions of the CPUSA. He made a Twitter thread that said, why Lenin would vote Democrat, which, should I debunk that? Is it in need of being debunked? I'm not sure. It could be easily debunked in like 2 seconds, because, for example, when Lenin said we should participate in elections, he didn't say vote for bourgeois parties. The Labour Party in Britain that he was talking to at that time, first of all, the main significance for Lenin was foreign policy. The Labour Party was going to alleviate pressure from the new Soviet government. Now, so if there is a communist revolution in Turkey or Egypt, thank you, doctor.
Joe Sims, real communists vote Democrat.
Yeah, let's say there's a communist revolution in like the Middle East or Turkey or something. Or let's say there's a communist revolution in Germany or fucking France or whatever, right? So who would have to be elected into office to prevent interventionism against them? Probably Trump, right? The Democrats are not going to give Germany and France to a Russian alliance, Sino-Chinese alliance. Sorry, Sino-Russian alliance. They're not going to fucking allow that. So you want us like vote for who's more against war? The choice is very clear. Also, the Labor Party was not a bourgeois party. It was in a sense, it was a bourgeois party, but it was still like a bourgeois workers' party. Like it was the labor aristocracy's party. It was petty bourgeois in a sense. So that it's actually Labor Party is more positionally aligned with the MAGA movement, if anything, and the current Republican Party, or at least the MAGA wing of it. So no, he didn't say vote for Democrats as a matter of activism to make life better for all this dumb shit. But anyway, I'll break that down sometime. I'm not going to do it tonight, I don't think. And by the way, Dr. Mecha Gorilla, thank you so much, man. I appreciate the dono. So this is what they do. So social imperialism is a pretty left phrase because it's a Maoist phrase. It was a pretty lefty phrase in a good way that Mao used to describe the Soviet Union. So it's far to the left of the Soviet Union, right? And he called them social imperialist. Also, Lenin did somewhat, but this is the theory of social imperialism is mainly developed by Mao. Now, why is a member of the revisionist running dog CPUSA using this language? Because he wants to say what CNN says. He wants to align himself with the Democrats and to condemn the KPRF, but he can't do it. He can't do it by calling them a dangerous totalitarian, party that exonerates Stalin horrifically. So he has to disguise himself in ultra-left phrases and language, even that are like far contrary to the bounds of what's acceptable within the CPUSA. Like the CPUSA will become Maoist and ultra-leftist Maoists to condemn the KPRF. All the while, they're telling people to vote Democrat. So you see what an incredible level of fucking opportunism is here? They're only ultra-left Maoists when it comes to attacking Russia and the KPRF. Oh, KPRF is not communist enough. They're not revolutionary enough. So it just so happens conveniently to be that the KPRF is aligned against unipolar American imperialism, which the CPUSA leadership has definitively become an arm of, in every practical and meaningful relevant sense. So this is interesting. So this is called Follow the Money. Let's see what Joe Sims the Senile says.
Based.
Thank you, Chris.
10 years ago, Sims led the push against Sam Webb, who wanted to drop the Marxist label fully from CPUSA. Webb was ousted in 2013 and immediately went to work for the DNC. Now Sims has become Webb.
Yeah, I wonder if it was actually really that dramatic. I don't know if he was ousted even as much as he was like, okay, you want to change your job. So if you're going to be in the CPUSA, you still have to call yourself Marxist to con all these dumb, young, like radical lefties to being Democrats. So if the CPUSA stopped being Marxist officially, it would defeat the point, right? So Joe Sims was like, no. There's still a lot of these Marxists that don't vote Democrat, and they're not volunteering for the Democrats hard enough, so we have to con them into voting Democrat. I'm not convinced that Joe Sims is doing this from the perspective of his ideological consciousness anymore. He's never responded to any of our critiques. And that tells me he's not doing this because he believes it. I think he's doing it probably because he's literally in bed with the Democrats. Like, he's probably an agent for the Democrats. He's probably a fucking Fed. He's probably some shit like that, right? I don't think he's doing this because he believes it. If he believed any of this shit, he would respond to our criticisms. He doesn't fucking do that. He just keeps saying the same old thing in hopes that it's going to con enough fucking retards in the CPUSA.
A lot of people have the idea that the social base of the extreme right and the fascist movement is the so-called white working class.
Which it is objectively.
And that's a lot of baloney.
Okay, let's hear why it's a lot of baloney. In contrast to all facts, and even the random samples empirical test I just fucking showed you in my video, unless you think I deliberately excluded all the non-working class, that was just a random sample size of working class people at the Trump rally. So let's hear. Thank you, Hot Take. Appreciate you, man.
Defend the fraternal KPRF against opportunists. MAGA Communism is American Leninism and Mouse Massline, Guerrilla.
Precisely.
There's a lot of baloney. The source of this right-wing danger is the big bourgeoisie.
Okay, riddle me this, Joe. In 2020, why did the Democrats outstrip the Republicans in terms of spending by $14 billion? Let's do the facts. Let's check the facts, okay? Democrat versus Republican spending 2020. Let's follow the facts, okay? Okay. Let's follow the facts. Ready? So Joe Sims, so it used to be split down the middle, right? See how it used to be split down the middle? Now look at it. 6.9 billion versus 3.8 billion. More than double, or about double. Just about double. Just about double the spending. Now you tell me how that points to big money, Joe. Big money overwhelmingly favors Democrat, with very minor exceptions. And that is a provable and demonstrable fact.
And in particular, it's financial sectors, you know. I mean, there are others in the military, industrial, in the big oil, and so on and so forth. I'm Joe Sims, and I'm the chief.
Those tend to be rogue factions of the ruling class that support the Republicans at this point. The consensus is pro-Democrat.
Co-chair of the party, along with Rosanna Cameron. Democracy is on the ballot because there's a slow-moving coup taking place across the country.
Oh, I agree with that. I just wonder on which side. Let me go take a piss, guys. I'm gonna go piss. I'll be right back, okay? I'm gonna piss. All right, let's continue.
Where the Republican establishment, MAGA forces.
So, if there's no contradiction between the Republican establishment and the MAGA forces, why did your People's World newspaper endorse Liz Cheney? Riddle me that.
Are in state legislatures all across the country trying to pass laws that would either suppress the vote or put secretaries of state in positions where they can disregard the will of the electorate, and that is extremely dangerous. We got a long-term problem. I mean, the right-wing fascist danger has.
I'm pretty sure voter suppression is an extremely negligible explanation for low voter turnout. Pretty sure people just think the whole thing's fucking rigged. By the way, Democrats gerrymander too. Democrats gerrymander too. And they've also tried to suppress the vote from the other side now because MAGA's a mass popular movement now.
It's been incubating for decades. You know, it's well funded, and it has deep roots in this country, going all the way back to the days of slavery. There's been important shifts.
So which party was the party of the Slavocrats? Wonder which party was the party of the Slavocrats. If you're saying the two parties have roots all the way to slavery, wonder which party was the party of the Slavocrats.
In the thinking of the broad U.S. public, particularly in the broad working class public, around questions of race and gender and sexual orientation.
Oh my God. You're so right. It's about race and gender. That's so right. You know, we're just having a conversation about race now. It's not like they're trying to fucking weaponize these identities as interest groups and as ways to destroy the working class unity. No, it's just like it's all about, it's just like race. Let me ask you a question. Was it race when Jim Crow Joe put black people in jail? Was it race when the Democrats contributed to the systematic destruction of the black family? Was that race? I don't know. Was that race?
Which are really important. Also on issues of war and peace and the role of the United States. And
yeah. We're having important issues about race. That's why the founders of Black Lives Matter had such a good conversation about race that they're now living in a $9 million mansion in a gated white community. What a nice conversation about race we're having. Oh. And about war? Oh, yeah. We need to stop the Russian imperialists. We need to actively intervene and stop Putin, who's the new Hitler.
Based.
Thank you, Lumpio.
CPUSA and PSL have turned into leftist boomer money-making scams. By the way, thank you for proving the MAGA communism haters wrong. The positivity and happiness of the people in the video is palpable.
Thank you so much, Lumpia. Hey, Joe, I don't know if, you are aware of this, but the people most opposed to the war agenda are MAGA people. If I went to a Biden rally and said Ukraine is corrupt and we shouldn't go intervene on behalf of Taiwan, they would spit in my face. Jackson went to a liberal college campus and argued that, and they soyed out. But my message of anti-war was very well received among the MAGA people at the Trump rally. Now, maybe Trump people aren't just waving Palestine flags, but what does that have to do with the war movement? You think these Palestine flag wavers have any effect on U.S. support for Israel? They don't. They're just virtue signaling for Palestine. Even Zionists are virtue signaling for Palestine now. It's the latest trendy thing. They don't give a fuck about Palestine. They never have. They never will either. It has nothing to do with any of that.
In the global economy, all of those are very important. But it's also had the impact of scaring the hell out of the conservative reaction.
So I went to a Trump rally, and I didn't see any of these people. I didn't even see one person who was like this. Huh. I wonder why this represents the conservatives. Totally not glowing.
Reactionary sections of the country, which
Oh yeah,
still
these guys totally represent the rank and file of the conservative movement. Totally not glowing. These guys are totally real conservatives and not just like lefty LARPers. Totally real conservatives.
have a vested interest in promoting what they perceive to be the good old days when America was great. Big business is interested.
Okay, what days? I've never seen them say any. Oh, we have to return. They don't say that shit. Make America great again means there's an inner greatness within America we need to return to. Not as a specific point in the past, but as a specific it's like it's hard to fucking explain. It's not you're not returning to the past, you're returning to something that's already within. And the return aspect is you missed the possibility, so return back to it. Return back to the point you made the misstep that culminated into globalist lipshit America. That's not a specific point in time, because we're always making that misstep. Let me put it this way in motivational speaker terms. If I have an inner greatness within me, then, and if I'm not living up to that greatness, then I'm making missteps. Every single fucking moment of my life, I'm making missteps. So to return to my inner greatness doesn't mean I'm going to return to a point in the past. It means I'm going to return to what I really am, which I've been avoiding and ignoring or not unleashing. That's what you don't understand about MAGA, because you're a dumbass.
In maximizing.
Give me a sec.
profit. I mean, that's the name of the game. And it's not something that they do because they're necessarily mean people, but the meanness is inbred into the system, you know? It's dog or eat dog. And therefore, you saw when Trump was elected a much more fierce implementation of neoliberalism.
No, you didn't. You saw more of a publicization of it. There was nothing more fierce about it. It was the same shit, but the media was focusing more on it. And I've studied this. The whole thing about the kids being separated at the border, that was happening before Trump. And because there was so much attention placed on it, they tried to bring it to an end.
Than what obtained under the Obama administration, though.
Proof? Any proof, Joe? Where's your proof of that? That's a flat out fucking lie.
Both were neoliberal. There was massive deregulation.
Okay. Explain.
Was a massive attack on the trade union movement.
And the Clinton era was good for the trade union movement. So was Obama, right? Trade union movement was doing great until Trump came and destroyed it. That's what he's saying. Trump, why did the trade union movement need to be attacked? What life did the trade union movement fucking have by that point?
There was a massive loosening of rules.
Yeah, Trump caused the forest fires. This is so fucking unreal. How? Trump caused climate change and forest fires or whatever?
Related to the environment and environmental regulation.
Yeah, Trump did this, according to Joe Sims. Vote Democrat unless you want this to happen to your house. Joel's literally getting on camera and he's like, if you don't vote Democrat, this will happen to you. You're just going to burst into flames. So you better vote Democrat or else this is what you get.
And so on and so forth. And
It's going to just be this fucking giant fiery explosion. So you better vote Democrat or this is what you're going to get.
Business liked it. The main thing has to be to defeat the extreme right. Because again, we're trying to...
All right, guys, I'm going to show you what happens if you don't vote for Biden or you don't vote for the Democrats. Ready? This is what will happen if you don't vote for fucking Democrats. Ready? Look how scary this shit is. Look at this. Look at this. I'm going to show you how fucking scary this will be. Ready? You don't vote for Trump, or sorry, if you don't vote for the Democrats, this is what's going to happen. Ready? You want this to happen to your house? Nope. Well, that's what will happen. You're asking me for context? There's no context, okay? Just look at this. This is what will result from not voting for Democrats. Trust me. Trust me. Now, I'm Joe Sims here, and now trust me. This is what will happen if you don't vote Democrat for the midterm. Trust me. Just look at it. Just trust me. This is what will happen. Trust me. That's exactly what will happen. This. You don't vote Democrats in the midterms. This is what will happen. Alright? This is what will happen. Trust me. Look at it. Horrible. Horrible.
And the country, when I say we, I mean the country is trying to overcome the effects of what happened on January 6th and everything that led.
Yeah, personally, all the people I know, when they wake up, we're all trying hard to recover. Isn't the thought hilarious? Joe Sims wakes up in the morning recovering from January 6th. I'm still recovering. Woke up today. Still recovering. Not fully recovered. That is something that happened. I'm not fully recovered. Not yet. Every day he wakes up not recovered from that event. He's just not. He's still. We're all recovering from it. Every day we go to the grocery store. I can't believe that happened. I can't believe people stormed the Capitol. I can't believe it. I'm still recovering. He's still healing from it.
Led up to it.
We're going to therapists about it's like the most important. It's like weighing on us. It's not gas prices. It's not none of that shit. Who cares about any of that dumb shit? It's fucking this, okay? The price of food. We don't need food, all right? We need peace of mind from January 6th. We don't even need food. We just need peace of mind from January 6th.
And a really important part of doing that is to strengthen the hand of labor, to strengthen the hand of the organized section of the working class.
Okay, so by organizing this woman, these people, these are the workers, by organizing the working class who look like this, you will recover from January 6th, 2021. No one's explained how, but apparently if baristas carry red signs and yell on the street, that will help Joe Sims recover from January 6, 2021. So you know what? I'm issuing a mandate to my community. Let's help this poor old man recover from the traumatizing events. I want all of you guys to get jobs at Starbucks and become baristas. Then I want you to get these red signs and just start organizing. And that will help Joe Sims recover from January 6, 2021. Because I think he's still got his ass aches to this day. Just got like an upset stomach, or he's just his arm is bothering him and his back is hurting, and this will heal him. All right, so go and do that, guys. Let's help Joe Sims recover from January 6, 2021.
And in order to do that, you got to have better, more pro-trade union labor law. And the main
Oh yeah, that's what's getting in the way. Because Chris Smalls needed Democrat labor law to get the Amazon labor union. That's what he needed.
thing in that regard is to pass the PRO Act, which will give unions a greater ability to organize.
Didn't we cover this PRO Act before? Haven't we covered this before? Thank you so much,
I got
Janar.
the J6 strain. Still got long J6.
And the problem is that unions today are not seen as workers' institutions. They're seen as these institutions that are alienated from the workers, which is why they're so unpopular. The reason Chris Smalls was successful is because he created a union from scratch. So I think the PRO Act is just trying to give the existing unions more power. These unions are corporations, right? The CIO, these are all corporations, right? So that's what they're doing. They're trying to just extend their power and reach. Does the PRO Act help new unions form? Because that's what would be important, right? Or does it just help the existing ones?
And unless you have the force of the state and government behind you to implement it, to make it happen, it's just going to continue to get worse.
I didn't know Biden was a... What an idiot. This guy's so stupid. He didn't even know. Thank you, PJ.
If January 6th had been an insurrection, the world would look very different today. They know that and it terrifies them.
What I'm trying to say here is that Joe Sims doesn't even know the direction the Democrats are going in. They're not doing this shit where like, oh yeah, workers. They're going the way of they're becoming more moderate.
But the problem is not just electing these people. That's only the first step. The problem is building
Second step is waving red flags in public while looking like an obese fat fuck.
a mass working class led.
Yeah, this is a mass working class led movement. Not MAGA, this.
Social movement to make it
When people raise their fists and carry red flags.
happen. Because if you don't have that kind of pressure, it's going to be business as usual. It's going to be business as usual. So our goal is to build a movement and to support candidates, not because of necessarily.
This is the guy on Twitter talking shit to me. I swear to God, this is what they look like. This is literally them. The guy on Twitter. This is what he looks like. He's right here.
Their party affiliation, but because of the issues that they stand for and our ability.
Come on, guys, let's carry these red flags and just fucking march. Let's just do it. We're making a difference. Let's just carry these red flags.
Ability to influence them. What we do know is that some of the biggest corporations that were financing both the GOP and the Democrats have decided, after saying that they wouldn't support the particularly the 37, 40 members of the House who voted to deny that Mr. Biden had won
Oh my God, I'm not recovered from this.
the election,
Oh my God, look at it.
that they're continuing to do so. You know, we're talking about Home Depot. We're talking about Coke Industries.
Coke Industries.
No big surprise there.
The biggest oil company in America is Coke Industries.
We're talking about Chase Manhattan Bank. We're talking about UPS, and so on and so forth.
How are they doing? How are they financing anti-democracy efforts, Joe?
You know, these are household names.
That is democracy. You want your democracy? Look at it. That's what it looks like.
And they're contributing big money to these characters.
Okay. How big? Are they giving more than to the Democrats? Because I promise you they're not. I promise you not.
I saw that the wholesale beer manufacturers were one of the biggest contributors. I imagine that the Coors beer and those guys have a lot to do with that.
Oh my God, it's the beer. Now we have the fucking beer conspiracy. Got the beer. So what? What? So beer is behind it all. You guys heard it. The MAGA movement is controlled by Big Beer. Big Beer controls the MAGA movement. You heard it here.
Watery beer and bad politics, you know, horrible politics.
Oh no. Coors. This is like from 1920, dude. This is like from 1920.
And so I think that the
What year is that from?
focus on corporate funding
What year is that poster from? Is that still a thing? Okay, it was founded in 2005. Okay. Well, no, it wasn't because it was around in 1997 at least. That photo looked like it was from the 70s. That was in the past. What year is this from? It's from 1991.
Of the coup is important both from an educational standpoint to get folks to understand where the source of the problem is. And I also think it's important politically to cut off that funding and to call upon the broader forces in the country to demand that that happen. We raised at the National Committee meeting last January the idea of having a campaign with other organizations and movements focusing on the role of big business in supporting those who supported the coup.
Okay, but you're not actually having an analysis of who big business supports overwhelmingly.
The subversive caucus, it's called.
He's literally bro. You sound like a McCarthyite. What is this? What is this, bro? You're supposed to be the chairman of the Communist Party. You're calling people subversives now?
Fascist caucus. That could include many different aspects and dimensions. One idea was to set up picket lines at, in front of the offices of corporations that are engaged in these activities,
That'll make a difference.
and do it with other groups if they're on board. Talk to them, try to form a little coalition, and make it happen.
Yeah, he said it. Make it happen.
Call
Accost the buildings on the side of the road and just yell slogans, and it'll change something.
the press, and I think that would be a newsworthy kind of issue. But it's just
Yeah, I agree, dude. That would totally make a difference.
one idea. There may be others that.
My idea is you step down and purge all the liberals from your party. That's my idea.
People think of. The important thing, I think, is to bring attention to the issue in whatever shape that might take.
Guys, is my stream lagging at all? This is so relevant. Yeah, this is exactly what MLK wanted.
They're about relations of power. They're about our people's, our class's ability to concretely implement platforms and programs and make things happen. They determine who gets what and how decisions are made. And I understand the reason people don't think that it's effective. People don't think that their individual vote counts. People don't, but we have to understand that voting is part and parcel of collective action of a class.
What is this? They're literal band kids? What is this?
And we can't think about it in terms of whether or not my individual
Wait, but this is the People's Party. Those guys don't like you.
voice is heard. It's about whether or not our collective voices are heard. I think that that's the important point to get across. And if we can do that, and if we can convince folks on that level, I think that we'll have made an important step forward. So I would encourage people not to give up on it, not to give in to, pessimism about it, but also not to have illusions
I'm not even registered to vote.
about, whether or not, because you got to do vote, but you got to do more than that. And that's what the party's about. It's about
See, they already know that's their ugly symbol. We have the based CPUSA symbol. They have the ugly one. We have the based one. We're getting rid of that ugly one.
involving all of us and utilizing all of these collective tools. Big business don't understand nothing but power, relationships of power. They don't, what did Frederick Douglass say? Power concedes nothing without demand, But you got to go further than just demanding it. It has to be organized, It has to be forced, And the only way that you can force it is by striking, by occupying, by voting, by...
There it is, voting. Because when you say occupy, you mean occupying people's attention to have them as ready-made interest groups to vote for the people that you actually serve.
by constantly keeping the pressure on.
Amen, Taryn. Amen, Taryn. This is all Taryn, by the way. Vote like your lives depend on it. Okay. What a silly video. What an absurd, silly video. What a silly, absurd, stupid video. What a dumb, stupid, absurd, stupid fucking video. Remember when Taryn got BTFO'd in my Substack? She never recovered from it, and she privated her account on Twitter because of how severely she got fucking destroyed. All she does now is manipulate Joe Sims. She has nothing now. She's done. I literally destroyed her. Remember how Taryn Fivek is no more? She's just a fucking private account with 1,000 followers. See, she's in control of her little cult in New York. Nothing else. She'll never be relevant again. And that's a personal victory for me. Fuck Taryn Fivek. Karen Fedvek. Karen Fed. So guys, Wow. I think I'm gonna unlist this stream. We're not done with it yet, but when I am done with it, I might unlist it. I think I will unlist it. I will unlist it. So funny. What am I missing? What am I missing? I think a lot of people are gonna react to my MAGA video. You guys want to watch my MAGA video together? Again? I'll react to it myself. Ha 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 ha. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
On the subject of totalitarianism, I wanted to do something very quickly. So I'm guessing that even though most people in the room have negative views of both men, they have a more intensely negative view of Hitler than of Stalin. I'm guessing almost everyone in the room. Some of the protesters at your event at McMaster University stood behind a banner with a hammer and sickle. You've said that a hammer...
It is a mystery, you know. It is a mystery because it is the case that there is something about the Nazi doctrine that seems to have a visceral impact that the communist doctrine doesn't have. And I said when I opened my remarks...
Because I'll tell you why. Because there was World War II. Okay, you following me? And the Nazis were the Axis and the Allied powers were the communists and the democracy, right? Okay, so after the war, there was a post-war international order that was founded on the defeat of Nazism. So there was a communist world and there was a capitalist world. And we were isolated from the communist world and vice versa. So We remember World War II because of the Nazis, but we went diverging ways and we were isolated. It was the Iron Curtain. So we did not have a relation to communism that we did to Nazism.
Tonight that it
Because
might
communism was just as much a legitimate successor to the post-war situation as capitalism was at the time.
be the issue of racial superiority. You know,
All right, Jordan, I'm done with you. Hey guys, tomorrow I will not be streaming. I will not be streaming tomorrow. And the next time I stream, I'm going to be in a different place. I'm just going to announce it. I'm going to TwitchCon. Did you guys know that? I'm going to TwitchCon. I'm going to TwitchCon. So that's why. I'm going to California. And I'm going to be filming with Jackson, possibly in San Diego, but for sure in LA after. And I'm banned from TwitchCon. I'm banned from TwitchCon. But I'm going to be going there anyway. Because I'm going to... Because me and Jackson are both going to be in the area. Because I was going to LA anyway. And then I was like, you know what? May as well go to San Diego for the weekend. And I'm going to be streaming every day after tomorrow. So I'm going to be streaming while I'm there. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. So I'm going to be streaming. So don't worry about that. But yeah, I'll see you guys. See you guys. Bye-bye. See you guys later. Bye. See you whenever. One last thing. There's one legitimate point that Joe Sims did make when he said we should vote for